Good evening, everybody. Welcome back to TTTV. This is TTL F1 season number 13 and round number 15, which takes us to the Singapore Grand Prix. My name is Kieran McGinley, and joining me in the box tonight, making his TTL F1 debut, it's Tom, also known as Tej. Tom, how are you tonight?
I'm very well, Kieran. Thank you very much. And thank you very much for the introduction. I'm looking forward to this race, making my debut for the TTG Esports F1. So it's going to be a fantastic round, and I look forward to it very much.
Yeah, and what a debut you've got. You've got the Singapore Grand Prix, one of the most demanding tracks on the calendar. And also that, we're looking at a runtime of almost an hour. Tej, you've been racing a long time ago on F1 games. Just how demanding is Singapore?
Or Singapore, without a doubt, Kieran, is one of the most demanding circuits, not just for the drivers in real life, but obviously for our esports races as well. Normally, myself, when I'm driving, I have a pint of water just to keep myself hydrated, keep myself going. When it's Singapore, it's not unknown to have 2 pints of water just to, because you really moving the wheel. You've got like 20 odd corners, you're constantly on it, you've got to look around, you look forward, and obviously you've got the ERS to manage as well. So it's a very demanding circuit, not just on the driving, but also the mental aspect of the race and thinking of what position and where you're going to come out in the future.
And also, Tej, I know it's a new race for you, new names to learn. I'm guessing you've had a look at the standings and that 99-point gap between the two championship rivals of Ollie and Jack, who had that name change, remember. We'll have to wait and see if he's coming tonight. Oh, he's at the top there. There you go. So Jack is here, Ollie is here. Now, I got this wrong, Tej. Remember that Ollie isn't actually from Britain. He's from Jersey. But he uses that flag because it's the only one that looks similar to the Jersey flag. So, well, we'll give him that then.
Yeah, we'll let him off just for that one. No, it's going to be a fantastic race, and there's a few familiar names to myself from previously racing. I'm obviously looking forward to seeing how Jack does. He's the previous race winner at Italy, so I think it's going to be a fantastic race. I'm looking forward to this. It's a demanding circuit. It's you really got to battle for your position. You need to earn your track position here as well. The qualifying is vitally important, Kieran, as you well know.
Yes. That's absolutely right, and I'm looking forward to this one. Singapore, as I raced it in TTFL, I had a couple of seasons there. I say a couple of seasons, I was in and out, if you like. And no, I enjoyed Singapore. It's a challenging track, and once you get into the swing of things, once you get into that momentum, it's very easy to fall in love with the track. Absolutely. And yeah, we're going to be racing, of course, at night. Singapore first Grand Prix back in 2008, and shall forever be marred in controversy. I wonder why. But the first race night race, got that the wrong way around, first night race on the calendar, and yeah, it's quite a spectacle at the time, and arguably, Tej, it still is.
Oh, definitely. It's definitely one of the circuits you look forward to come the end of the season, knowing that we're getting into the night race of Singapore. It looks a lot different to what it does in the practice when they're practicing during the day. It looks quite normal, but once the lights come on and the cars look fantastic in the light going around Singapore, it's definitely one of the spectacles to look forward to on the F1 calendar.
Absolutely. And we have, what's that, 23 corners around the Singapore track. Very demanding. And the last time TTFL came here, I believe the runtime was 53 minutes. That's a long time, especially for a 50% race. Normally you're looking at, the Italian Grand Prix, you've just come off the back of that. That's around 37, 38 minutes. You then go into the longest race on the calendar, and look at that, pouring with rain for qualifying. Now, I was taken off guard. I was taken off guard in 2017 in the real race when it started to rain. I was like, can it rain in Singapore? Is that possible?
Yeah.
Well, there you go. Apparently it can.
That's it. Now with the rain, I wonder if it's going to be for the race. We're looking at a running time to rival the Avengers films, Kieran, if that's the case.
And by default, the drivers are on full wet tyres, so it is really going to be treacherous out there. Tej, we do get a weather report in the chat. It's going to be light rain to dry in the race, so that's what the drivers have got to think about. So possibly then they'll be looking to put dry setups on then and hope that the rain doesn't stick around for long. There's a Mercedes leaving the garage. It's either going to be Jack or Spike, and if tradition holds true, it should be Jack coming down the pit lane there, and it is in the number 69 Mercedes, making his way now down towards the pit lane. Obviously it's an awkward, there's a safety car. having a little bit of trouble there. Anyway,
Mm.
there's Jack then making his way onto a very slippery, very treacherous track, and here you can see right on the limit of the line there. Full wet tyres, not often you see these out.
No, not at all, Kieran. And what he's done there, with him being the championship leader, he's laying the market out the other drivers, saying, what are you scared of? Why aren't you coming out yet? Have a look. Have a run around the circuit. Get up to speed with the track. Get used to the conditions and try and set the best lap time you can. But interesting you must say that, Kieran. With it being a wet race to dry, you're going to have to be looking during the race who's going to be the best at transitioning across to the dry conditions, and obviously then they will benefit the most once it turns dry.
Absolutely, and Jack, you can see struggling with that back end now as he makes his way towards the old Singapore sling. Now he's going through turn 9 onwards towards that Singapore sling. Remember those curves left, right, left, and one of the Salvers in Kamui Koba actually got some air going over those curves, trying to attack it too much, and it led to him costing the front wing and his entire race actually. And as you head over the Anderson Bridge towards the hairpin, a really good overtaking opportunity if you can get it right. I remember Felipe Massa going side by side through there, losing that back end, somehow getting control back in the car and making the move into the hairpin. A fantastic move some 5 years ago now.
Oh, I remember that, Kieran. I can't believe it was 5 years ago. Because times fly. But I've just noticed now on Jack's lap, even though it's just an outlap, he is really pushing the limits, trying to find the grip on this outlap, using it as a scouting lap for his fast lap, which is coming up in just a few corners' time.
Absolutely, and this is where we have the hot lap normally, but it's going to be a pretty wet lap, actually, as we now head through turns 20 and 21.
A lukewarm lap.
A lukewarm lap then, as Jack now makes his way around the final 2 corners. Normally you're just dropping a gear through there, and you can see the back end squirming as he makes his way through 23, and on the way now towards turn 1, that infamous accident between Verstappen, Raikkonen and Vettel, racing incident to this day, heading through turn 1, 2 and 3 now. Very tight left-hander, especially in the wet as well. On the exit there, watch that traction, especially in the dry as well, as we make our way now down towards turn 5. Be careful on the entry in towards turn 5 as you get a little bit of a tank slapper out of there, and Jack taps the wall as we now make our way through turn 6. Of course, DRS is disabled because of the wet weather, as we now make our way now down towards turn 7. Looking onto those curves there, and you can see Jack aggressive on the curves as well. It might cost him a little bit of traction as we head towards turn 8, making our way now towards the left-hander of turn number 9. And you can see the back end already swapping on Jack on the entry, and now we head all the way down towards turn 10, towards that old Singapore sling, which is just that nice left-hander nowadays, in towards turn 11, and coming now on towards the Anderson Bridge. Now heading through turn 12, treacherous here, narrowest part of the circuit as we head towards turn 13. Now this whole hairpin, going to get up the gears quite quickly to get that traction down. Good overtaking opportunity if you can get turn 13 right. On towards turn 14, this right-hander here as the car gets out of the way, that's the Renault there. As we head now in towards turn 14, there's a slight kink of the left-hander into turn 15. It becomes the break zone of turn 16. Very difficult corner to get right. Easy to overrun the corner. Now heading through 17. And then this is where the Toro Rosso of Daniel Ricciardo back in 2013 lost control of the car, went straight to the scene of the accident, in towards turn 19 now as we go underneath the grandstand, heading in towards turn 20. It's all really 90-degree section here as we head through turn 21. Watch that wall on the right hand side, it widens so that you can get that apex. Heading now through turns 22 and through turns 23, and that is a very soggy lap of the Singapore Grand Prix. And after all that for Jack, it's a 155.009, and it's not even going to count.
Invalidated the lap there. You can see most of the corners there, Kieran. The car just wanted to go 1 inch on itself. He was love tapping the walls absolutely everywhere. I have to imagine he's set up for a dry finale come the race after qualifying. As he kisses the wall once again, he's definitely pushing it this lap. He's got his ERS level up to level 5. Let's see his time through the first sector. You're normally looking at a 28 in the drive, but it's a 30.8. He's 1/10 up on the lap time set so far by Fate Benfica.
Absolutely. There's Ollie there as a pursuit then, the Italian, 157.4, and Benfica there, second place in what I believe would be his debut. He's arriving for the Williams team as a reserve. There's Spike then, 156.1, and completely smashes those lap times. And Spike has always been talking about getting qualifying right. He wants to really knuckle that down. Siege then, 156.8, 7/10 off that Mercedes driver right about now. But again, with a wet qualifying, it's a different mentality. It's almost like you have to stay out there for as long as possible. Those wet tyres do take a little bit of time to warm up and actually get to a usable degree.
Certainly is, Kieran, especially in transitioning conditions during a wet qualifying. On occasions you do get the track where it can get dry, the rain can get lighter, and once you've got 14 other cars doing the best that they can to get the water from the surface, your lap times do tend to get a lot quicker. And also with the wet tyres as well, it does pay dividends to go on the wet tyres for a lot longer. Not like the dry tyres where you get one fast lap out of them. The more laps you get on the wet tyres, the quicker your times will come down, and to get up to speed and up to temperature, which we might see come the end of this session, Kieran, where people stay out and do additional laps.
Absolutely. There's Jack then, 153.7.
As we see.
There you go. That's a monster of a lap time for now. And there you can see, not against the rules, that one, to sort of cut the track on your out lap or in lap. Maybe that might be a regulation change for season 14. You never know. And we'll have to wait and see whether season 14 will be on this game or the next one. Because, of course, there's an earlier release. It's June. So that puts that makes league officials scratch their heads and thinking, how on earth are we going to make this calendar fit?
A 2-race season, perhaps.
Well, maybe, yeah. Well, 2 races a week, you'd think you could smash it out. 10 weeks.
I'll just knock it down to 5 lappers. That'd be a championship I'd sign up for.
That would be absolute carnage, Tej. Absolute carnage. Let's have a look at some of the comments. We've got Sam there greeting us in the chat there. He's saying, let's go Maze, maybe for the win. And Maze just put some eyes there. Well, let's keep an eye on him then. He doesn't normally come out in qualifying until around about the last 5 minutes. It's when we can expect to see that Renault. But
does he pay for his own tyres?
Well, I mean, he must do at that point. What, £20,000 a set? Yeah, probably pay for his own tyres. But with these interesting conditions then, I mean, we've got full wets on here now. Doesn't really look like it's going to let up. And obviously some of these drivers will have been on a dry setup. You can see there, Alan Kay, 2-minute lap time. Usually has knocked off 2 seconds off of his, now it's a 1:58.7. And yeah, that rain doesn't look like it's going to let up anytime soon. Just here comes Ollie around the final corner. Makes his way towards the line. It's a 1:54.2. That puts him into second place. A 99-point gap. Could be so much worse for him by the end of this race. He's just got to keep his head down.
Absolutely, Kieran. I think what we're noticing now with these lap times, I think it's the final sector where the drivers are making up a lot of the time as the tyres get up to temperature. They're managing to throw it round the 90-degree corners, as we just see TTG Ollie absolutely smash the corner coming out of turn 5 there. He's still on a flying lap though. He's only 3 tenths down off the current pole position time. I'm quite surprised though by some of the tactics, Kieran. I'm sure you are as well. We've got drivers still in the pits where it's going to be wet race, so you might as well go for it. You know it's going to get dry, you've seen the conditions. Try and set a lap time as fast as you can, because there's only going to be one compound required during the race, with it being a wet starting race. So you've got nothing to lose. Get a set of wets on, get some fuel in the car, and try and get as fast as you can with only 8 minutes to go.
So with 8.5 minutes to go then, it is Jack on provisional pole position, Ollie in second, Siege in third, Spike in fourth. Sean, who we're seeing there, just cutting that final corner, he's decided he's had enough of these soaking wet conditions. He's currently in 5th place. Pursuit is in 6th, Benfica 7th, Alan Kay is in 8th plus, and 9th, usually 10th, with Maze, Crazy Legs, Lighty and Graham all yet to post a competitive lap time. Crazy there set a 2:07.7, not representative, and also it didn't count. So, he's lost the back end and hit the wall. Coming out of turn 5 there, lost the back end completely, and I thought that was a tyre gone. Luckily for him, it's only a chunk of front wing on the left-hand side. Very, very lucky there for the Ferrari driver.
I have to speculate it could be drying during this session as well, Kieran, because you've got TTG Maze who's currently sitting in the pits on the inters. So maybe he's looking to try and sneak out with just a few minutes to go, catch everyone off guard and try and get a nice solid lap in on the inters.
I'll tell you what though, the rain has eased up slightly. It's not as heavy as it once was. So
method in the madness. Well,
there could be a method here from Maze. You never know. He might just skip qualifying entirely. He has been known to do that, especially if he knows that going out with 14 drivers, that he doesn't really see a point, and he'd rather just get a race set up and go from there. But at that point, arguably, if he doesn't leave the pit lane at all, he could change his setup for the race. That arguably, because parc ferme only locks into place once you leave the pit lane for qualifying. So in theory, he could make the setup changes he needs before the race.
Absolutely, but you could be behind the black ball there, starting from the back of the grid, changing your setup and hoping that you can overtake the 13 cars from a wet to drying track. But it certainly could be something to look out for. So now the yellow flag in sector 3, I don't know who that's for. I believe it could be the Ferrari that's just crawling around the track at the moment. Crazy legs. Yeah, he's lost his left wing front end plate there, so I imagine he'll be coming to the pits to get a new one on and going out on the track and try to set a lap time.
So 6 minutes to go then. The order is still as you were from a minute or two ago. But Jack is out there now heading through turn 5. And now on the exit, that car looks a little bit more stable now. It's definitely downgraded to light rain in these qualifying. And, well, I'm not sure. 6 minutes to go. I mean, the track temperature is very high here. You're looking at sort of 30 to 35 degrees. That's just air temperature, so the track temperature will be a lot more. This circuit could dry. You can already see there kind of is. There's those dry tram lines as we're looking above from Spike here. There are dry tram lines forming, but I would say it's nowhere near ready for the slick tyres.
No. What I'll have to speculate as well, you have the current drivers on track, such as Jack, Spike, and Alan Kay, and I have to imagine the guys who've still got pit next to the name. You look at the time scheme and you'd be thinking, I'm in 5th, I'm in 6th, you know. Maybe just throw a bit of caution to the wind and strap a pair of winters on and see what you can do with them, because the rain, as you have noticed there, Kieran, the rain is dying down, so we could be coming at the window for the intermediates, so it'd be interesting to see what happens as the minutes dwindle down if anybody takes the gamble.
Well, May is there. Unfortunately, has gone straight back onto the full wet tyres. Still in the pit lane though. Maybe just a little bit of a tease. Just a tease for us. Oh, that Spike gone straight on then. That is at turn 18, so he decided he wasn't going to make the corner. So instead, decides to go straight on. So not a bad bit of driving there from Spike. Just had to do a little bit of a 3-point turn, a little bit of a 180, and he's back on track.
Absolutely good game sense there. There's no point smashing your car up, especially during the qualifying session. He could be doing another lap with 4 minutes still to go, as you know, pits, and they'll be looking to either put a pair of wets or inches on.
Lighty then, who's currently on an outlap, hasn't set a lap time just yet, going through turn 13. You've got Graham, who's out on track in the Sauber. That's going to be weird from the next game to call that the Alfa Romeo, but it's still the Sauber to us for now, as he now tiptoes his way.
Still a Force India.
Still a Force India too, that's right. As now we see Graham making his way, tiptoeing almost through 18, then through 19. As he now makes his way towards turn 20. That's Alan Kay, who's retired from the session in sector 2. So that's the Renault probably met the wall at some point. Here, coming around the final 2 corners very cautiously as he makes his way towards the line. Will he set a lap time? Yes, he will. It's a 2-minute.1. And look at this. Ollie, Spike and Siege all thinking the intermediates.
There's some people watching the stream there, Kieran, taking our advice.
It's terrible advice, Tej, but yeah, they can do what they please.
Well, Jack could be the odd one out here though, Kieran. He's still out there doing a lap at the moment, where his 3 newest rivals for pole position, Ollie, Spike and Siege, are deciding to get a pair of winters on and trying to usurp the championship leader for his pole position. So it'll be interesting how this goes. Don't go anywhere. We've got a fantastic 3 minutes of the Singapore qualifying coming right up. This is where it gets to a bit of a grandstand finale here. I love these parts of the qualifying session where it's caution to the wind, trying everything to get that P1 as the Red Bull there cuts across the Ferrari, who's on a hot lap. So words might be exchanged there.
Yeah, that is the issue with cutting the track to get out there as quickly as you can. You can affect other people's lap time, and if that's the case, then you do risk a little bit of a reprimand, maybe even a qualifying suspension.
Slap on the wrist.
Yeah, a bit of a slap on the wrist. You never know. Was that the Ferrari of Plaster? I think it was. So it's whether Plaster takes it to the stewards. But having a look on board with the likes of Siege and Spike, it looks like they've got relatively good grip out there. And you can see now the track is a lot more well, there's a lot less standing water than there was 2 minutes ago. And like I said, Singapore being at such a high track temperature, there's more chance for that rain to just evaporate much, much quicker.
Absolutely, Kieran. As we spotted earlier on in the session, the more cars going around the circuit, the more standing water is going to be leaving. So the runners could be finding themselves knocked from position as Jack's sliding everywhere once again. Coming down to the old Singapore sling corner there. And he's lost it into the wall and he's gone.
At the old Singapore sling.
Looks like he went straight on there.
Yeah, no, he lost the back end on the exit, I would say. Just cut on to see that. So pushing hard, but now his lap time is over. So this is a chance here for Ollie, Spike and Siege, if they're on the right tyre, to grab those front 2 rows away from Jack here. We'll have to see how they go.
I'll keep a look at those sector times queuing as well as they're running across to him. First across will be Siege. Let's see how his first sector is. Is he?
Well, here he comes then.
Is he about to make a claim for pole? It looks good so far.
So far so good, is it? 31.5. It's actually off the pace a little bit. What about Spike coming towards the sector line now? He has done 31.1. Yeah, so they look a little bit off the pace to me. So Siege will be the last one. Ollie will be the last one to cross that sector line. We've got yellow flags in sector 3. That is Ollie who's retired, so he has abandoned his lap altogether. So second place for him so far. What about Siege towards the Anderson Bridge towards turn 13 as he now makes his way towards the sector line, which is just before turn 14. We've got a good chance to see what this is. Another 31.5.
He's a strong third sector, Kieran. He's a strong first sector, especially the windy parts of the track. This area, this is where he could be gaining some time because you'll get more traction, more grip around here than the wets. Car doesn't appear to be sliding like it was previously. He's got a Force India in front of him, so get out of the way because he's coming through.
Well, unless that Force India is on a flying lap, then there's no need to. But here comes Siege then, coming around the final corner as Lighty gets into the wall and spins the car around. And here comes Siege then around the final corner. What's he going to do here? It's a 151.4.
Oh, he smashes it.
Sets those sector times alight, sector 2 and sector 3. Just sector 1 seemed to be a little bit of a struggle for him, but he's got that lap time. How about Spike then making his way towards the line? It's second place for Spike. Not quite pole position, but Ollie, the man from Jersey, grabs pole position for the Singapore Grand Prix. So we await then the results from qualifying. We'll give you the full rundown. But, well, intermediates at the end. Got that chance to get that fast lap time. Siege then takes pole position. It was Siege, my apologies. Siege got pole position with Spike in second. It was Jack in third. Of course, Ollie retired from the session. Benfica in the Williams got 5th place with Sean in 6th. Pursuit in 7th, Alan Kay in 8th. Lighty 9th with Graham rounding out the top 10. Plaster in 11th, UC 12th. Maze and Crazy Legs did not set lap times. Crazy Legs, of course, hit the wall. And Maze never left the pit lane. Decided to stay in the warm and the dry.
He was stuck in his room. Couldn't get out.
Stuck in his room, or just decided, I'll have a cup of tea instead?
I'll have a cup of tea. I stay up the lane, I'll have a cup of tea. But I enjoyed the British weather. But interesting to notice there, though, Spike on his lap time, it was the Force India that spun ahead of him, so he had to swerve out the way. I noticed the time was 3/10, but I think he probably lost that time, so potentially he could have had the pole position. So it's going to be interesting during the race, especially if he looked the quicker out of the 2 on the front row of the grid.
And that all depends if the Force India was on a flying lap. If he was on a flying lap, then that's tough luck. If he wasn't on a flying lap and knew he was coming to the pit lane, whole different story. But we won't know now until we get to the steward's office. That's all we can say about that one. But there you can see that light rain, so it looks like it's going to be intermediates to start this race. Or will anybody be crazy enough to go onto some slick tyres?
I'll have to be very brave if that's the case, Kieran, to put a set of dry tyres on in the wet conditions. You have to be very, very brave indeed.
Of course, we know that it's light rain to dry. We don't know when that light rain is going to subside and the track starts to dry up. As we saw in qualifying, it does not take long for this track to start drying up. It only takes about 2 minutes or so when the rain stops falling. But there we go then.
Absolutely.
Slicks are on. So then, this is going to be a very interesting start then. So the track can't be too wet then. Let's have a look as we head around the track. Yeah, you can see the track is pretty dry actually, compared to what qualifying was like. So you might get a little bit out of shape on the exits, but this is a real test for everybody now to go onto some slick tyres. So it's a real strategy, real scratching of the head to see what we're going to go for. Well, Siege, Spike and Jack, they're going for the hardest possible tyre, the soft tyres. Ollie, the man from Jersey, he's going on the softest possible tyres, the hyper soft. Benfica in 5th place, Sean in 6th, and Pursuit of the Four Cinder in 7th. They're going on the mid-range ultra soft tyre. Alan K and Lighty, they're both going on some soft tyres. Graham and Plaster, followed by Yuzi in 12th. They're going on a set of ultra soft tyres. Maze matching his runner there, he's going on the soft tyres. And Crazy Legs, who makes slight contact with Maze, that's both of them going straight to the grid. He's going on a set of ultra soft tyres. But well, the rain can't be here for long then. If the teams have decided, well, you're going on some soft tyres or something like that, as Siege gets a mountain of understeer through turn 13, just shows you how difficult these conditions are going to be for the start of this race. I'm looking forward to this one now.
Oh, absolutely, Kieran. I think the biggest losers there have got to be TTG, Maze and Crazy Legs as well. They didn't set a lap during qualifying, expecting it to be a wet starting race, but I've touched on the top 3 going on the hardest compound. The track is going to be very, very cold. It's going to be hard for the 3 of them to get a lot of grip on the tyres. The big movers in this opening phase of the race, Kieran, could be Ollie, Benfica, Sean and Pursuit on the Hypersoft to Ultrasoft. But interesting to see how far they can get the tyres and how quick they can get them up to temperature.
Absolutely then, as Siege makes his way around the final couple of quarters and makes his way back towards the grid. Of course, TTL F1 is sponsored by WeakWiFiSolutions.com, who also sponsor the Driver of the Day award as voted for by the drivers. And it's also sponsored by A-Logo, who provide all of the graphics for the league. They are also sponsoring the fastest lap of the race. As you can see there, many of the drivers deciding to take it quite leisurely on this lap here. We're riding on board with Siege then, and again that drizzle still falling, so we await now for the rest of the drivers. So they're all coming around now. That's the Ferrari of Blaster, there is the Toro Rosso of Yuzi, so that'll be the last driver to form up onto the grid. And we await now for the start of the Singapore Grand Prix, one of the most demanding tracks on the calendar. The last thing these drivers wanted is a start like this, but they're going to get one as we now build up towards those 5 red lights here in Singapore. Round 15 is underway, and what are the starts like? It's a good start from everybody. They've managed to keep it clean. They've got the traction right, but it looks like here it's going to be 3 wide in towards turn 1 there. That is Siege having to take evasive action from Spike there as he tries to take the lead in towards turn 3 here. Well, that's Ollie who's on the Hypersoft tyres. He's got the grip and he takes the lead in the Red Bull. You can see there, you can hear from Jack there, those rear tyres there just do not want to grip as we now head around turn 5 down towards turn 4, now coming through turn 5 now. As you can see now, Jack on those soft tyres, looking for a way past his teammate down towards turn 6, looks up the inside, contact between the Mercedes there as Jack wants to get past. He knows Ollie's got the lead and he wants that gap to be much bigger, as that's the hearts there of Sean running into the back of Benfica there, and that must be damaged to that front wing. There is on the right hand side as we've got a Renault in the wall, and that looks like Maze who's now got damage to his front wing. And is that driver involved, or was that just the conditions? As Spike here holding on to his teammate and holding on to second place. Ollie then on those Hypersofts, the only person to start on the Hypersofts, has now got a 2.2 second lead in just the first couple of corners. To be expected really on the exit now of turn 13. We've got Pursuit there losing that back end quite vigorously as Benfica now looks to have an opportunity up towards turn 14, decides he's too far back to try and take it. We've also got Crazy who's up to 12th place, obviously the two-time champ on the wheel, and a new sense of finding that pace. Currently there in 12th place. Meanwhile, Jack still on the back of Spike then as we head up towards turn 18. We've got yellow flags in sectors 2 and 3, and that, not sure who that is, but we'll try and get onto it in just a second. That Williams there tapping the wall. Can't do that too many times, especially when the tyre wear gets too high. You risk those punctures coming in, as we now see with Jack then losing that back end through the final couple of corners. We've got Benfica making moves now. He's up to 5th place as he gets past Pursuit then, and after lap 1 being complete, the man from Jersey leads. It's Ollie up the front. It's Spike in second. It's Jack third, Siege fourth, Benfica fifth, Pursuit sixth, Sean seventh, UC eighth, Blaster ninth, Graham in 10th. Crazy is now up to 10th as they battle in towards turn 3. Graham holds on to 10th with Crazy 11th. As Alan Kay in 12th, Lighty 13th coming back to the pits, and that's Maze in 14th, bringing up the rear. A great first lap so far. Long may this race continue.
Oh, absolutely, Kieran. And like we alluded to during the formation, that Ollie, he was through like a ferret up a drain pipe. He just went through the front three. They were squirming for grip on the soft tyres, and he just dived right through all of them. You've obviously got Jack now, who seems to have got the best out of the tyres so far. He's going to be having a word with his teammates, surely on the pit wall, saying, let me through, I can try and attack Ollie. At the moment, the Red Bulls are just going to be running away with this race, as we can also see now in 5th place, Fate in the Williams, all over the back of Siege in the Red Bull, as he tries to dive through, knowing he's on the softer tyres, and now is the time to make it count, because he is the lead runner so far of the guys on the softer tyres, and the Mercedes will be hoping that the Red Bull can stay there and prolong the threat from those drivers on the Ultrasofts.
Well, you can see there Jack applying that massive pressure to his teammate there. You've also got Benfica putting that pressure on Siege. Of course, he's on the Ultrasoft tyres. Loads of strategies going on here as we make our way now up towards turn 16 through 17 now, and towards that dreaded turn 18. That left-hander where if you overrun it, you've got a wall to meet you. Fly Emirates. Well, you won't be flying when you hit the barrier there, as Benfica rides those curbs then. Now coming towards turn 20 through turn 21, and that's Spike getting a 3-second time penalty. Also to note, Pursuit has a 5-second stop-go penalty for what I assume was cutting the track and gaining a place. I didn't quite see what the penalty was for, as that's the Haas there of Sean running wide, but he does set the fastest lap of the race. Now that's with a damaged front wing too, so that's some good pace from Sean from him right now, that's for sure.
Well, the top 7 have just literally ran away, Kieran. They've run away from the rest of the pack, and I'd have to say Nexus Pursuit, he was a bit impatient trying to get through. Fate Benfica, it's almost as if he's saying, if you don't try and get through the Red Bull, I'm going to try and come for you. And I think he's acquired that penalty from going off track somewhere, as Fate Benfica, DRS wide open now, as he goes into the sector 1 corner. Just not close enough to the Red Bull so far, as the Mercedes of Spike runs wide and Jack goes through into P2, so Jack will be hoping he can run and hide and try and get after Ollie, and Spike can do what he can do and try to hold Siege behind him and get better track position for the lead Mercedes.
Yeah, there's a move then. Jack ahead using that DRS activated by race control, even though there's rain falling on the track. So a brave decision then, but the drivers will be held in that they want to race in these tricky conditions. It's such a demanding track, and Siege there running deep into turn 13. So does Benfica. So little grip around turn 13 right about now. It's the slowest corner on the track, and it's providing the least amount of grip, so it makes it even slower. Here comes Benfica.
Oh, he's going to go for it, he's going to go for it, Kieran.
Up towards turn 14, but couldn't get the traction down. Siege holds on, and he uses that outside line. That's Pursuit in the wall, and Pursuit's out of the race. He's collected the wall on the right-hand side, all on his own, and Pursuit then becomes the first retirement of the Singapore Grand Prix, and that's a heavy right foot there on the slick tyres, as at Benfica now trying a move around the outside of Siege then as we headed through turn 18, and that's a Crazy Legs there, a 5-second stop-go penalty awarded to him. Meanwhile, Siege has got himself a 3-second time penalty, as Benfica here looking for a way past Siege, but can't find it quite yet, as he loses that back end. Ooh, he might have had a chance.
There he is.
As he now heads down to
lost it then.
That's a little bit close for comfort there, but he's just about to get that under control, and will get another chance to fight then, as Crazy moves up to 9th place ahead of Graham. Meanwhile, Plaster battling away with Yuzi then. This is for 7th place at the moment, and can Plaster get that power down then side by side as we make our way down?
Kieran. Benfica just got the move done on Siege. He's up to 3-4. He knew he had to get that move done, because all you can see in the distance is the Mercedes drivers getting further and further away as he got stuck behind the Red Bull. He does go wide just as such come out the corner. You might have just got a bit of a warning there, but he's got the position nice and cleanly. Now he can set about trying to get after the Mercedes and try to keep hold of his race, because he did lose a bit of time behind the Red Bull. And it's a little touch on Nexus Pursuit as well. It's unfortunate, because he was in this battle. Sometimes when you're in close contact fighting, especially at a street circuit, your patience can get the better. Your impatience can get the better of you sometimes if you look to try and get the move done too soon. And I think that was the case with Nexus Pursuit and his DNF.
Yeah, we saw the move there on Plaster on the stream, who made the move down towards turn 7 with the DRS, and sort of made it look easy in the end. But the Ferrari driver now up to 7th place then for the Ferrari team, They've been through some torrid times this season, but they've got the 2 drivers there, and they've got a good chance at trying to score at least some points now with the likes of the handyman Plaster and the 2-time champ Crazy. And they'll be hoping Crazy can just get quicker and quicker as the weeks go by with his new wheel. Well, there's Ollie then, making his way around the final 2 corners. He's going to start lap number 5. That's right, you heard me. Lap 5 of this Grand Prix. So much action has happened, and we still have 26 laps to go. In fact, 27 laps to go we still have. So buckle up. You're in for the long haul, this one.
Oh, you certainly are. And it's just going to get even more entertaining because as the drivers stay closer to each other, the pit window comes, and who's going to go for the undercut, who's going to go for the overcut. This is where the race really starts to take hold. And we've got so many different strategies, Kieran. You've got the drivers on the softs who can go so much longer in this race to try to switch to the hyper soft or the ultra soft. We've got the drivers at the moment like Ollie. Ollie's actually been pulled back now. The gap was 7.2, is now dropped to 6.8. Is he already on the window with the whole hyper soft tyres? Because we do know the softer compound do go off a lot quicker, so it'll be interesting to see if that gap comes down, which it has again by 0.2, but it'll be interesting to see as the next few laps wear on.
Alan Kay is out of this race, and there he's binned it just before the start finish line, so he didn't even get to start lap number 5, but the Renault driver is now out of this race. So both Renault drivers are struggling today. Mazer's already been into the pits, and Alan Kay's day is well and truly done. That's Yusi there losing a bit of front wing end plate. Now he's under pressure from Crazy, and he backs off completely, just lets Crazy go there. That's probably the smart move from the Toro Rosso. Just collecting that wall on the exit of turn 9 there. Just got too close for comfort. Now he's lost a bit of front wing. He's going to struggle now, especially in these conditions where you really do need that downforce wherever possible. And obviously with Singapore, it's a wider track than Monaco. It's got longer straights, so you do try and run less aero. But with a front wing end plate off like that, maybe that's too little aero.
Absolutely. You have to wonder as well, Kieran, the Red Bull of TTG Siege, he might be running higher tyre temperatures, higher tyre pressures, because he appears to be struggling on the softs. He doesn't obviously at the moment match the pace of the other soft runners in the Mercedes as he goes wide once again. He's going wide on a few corners, which is allowing TTG Sean in the Haas to catch him. As we see, as I'm talking, the soft runner of Siege does decide to pit. I wonder if he's going to change to the ultra soft tyres now, convert to a 2-stopper. Let's see what tyre he goes on to here.
Well, what's important is that Ollie also came in. He's put on some soft tyres. There goes Siege on some ultra softs. We've also got, yeah, that was Siege in. I thought I heard 2 wheel guns there, but maybe I'm mistaken. There goes Ollie then. It's a long, long pit lane, especially if you're in the Red Bull car. But Ollie rejoins in 8th place, and Siege looks like he's going to rejoin in 9th place. Meanwhile, Benfica here, who's on the ultra soft tyres, trying to look at the back of Spike, as maybe these soft tyres aren't well suited to these conditions, because you can see there Jack has got, you know, that gap to Spike 3.8, but Benfica's closing in on Spike here. Now it's down to 0.4 of a second. Maybe these ultra soft tyres are the way to go, but here's the thing, because we haven't used any intermediate tyres or wet tyres as of yet, you still have to use both compounds. Remember, both compounds still have to be used, or 2 compounds I should say. Out of the 3, they still have to be used. You can't just run ultra softs throughout the race. You've got to change up the tyre strategy.
No, absolutely, Kieran. I'm quite surprised as well to see Siege switch onto the ultra softs from the softs. It's going to be, I imagine it's going to be a 2-stop strategy. So you'd have to wonder, would it have been better to have optimised the quicker tyre, even for a shorter spell, then go for a longer spell on the ultra softs? I'm only purely speculating because the race is going to be going on. It could even be a safety car. The things could change, but it's going to be interesting as a race goes. And you have different strategies. I mean, it was very well done by the Red Bull garage as well to stack both the cars up. But like I say, it'll be interesting to see as well when Jack comes in the window, if he does come out ahead or behind Ollie, because Ollie is going to be in traffic as he's already up to the back of Uzi. He's already at the back of the Toro Rosso. The Toro Rosso with his worn ultra soft tyres. Ollie with the softs only 0.5 there behind him, as the Toro Rosso Uzi runs wide there, and the Toro Rosso decided to pit, so that makes Ollie's race a lot easier there with the cars just getting out of the way, so you don't have to overtake them.
Yeah, we've got Alan Kay, who retired earlier on. He was saying to us that it feels like you should be out on inters, but there's no puddles and very little spray, and that just shows you how slippery these conditions are. And of course, these are slick tyres. They're not like back in the days of the V8s where you had those groove tyres that provided a little bit of grip in the wet. No, once that moisture gets on the track, it's very difficult to keep those tyres in check. And you've also got to remember that it's so much more difficult to keep those tyres up to temperature. That's probably why these guys on the soft tyres are struggling so much. It's not a case of hypersoft, ultra soft, super soft, which is probably what it would be, but in the fact you've got that another gap, that another tyre compound gap, you've got tyres there that need even more effort in the dry to keep up to temperature, let alone in these damp conditions. It's not helping the tyres. They're not going quick enough to keep those tyres warm, and that's probably why you've got people struggling on these soft tyres. They just can't keep them up to temperature.
Absolutely, Kieran, and touching that while you make that statement there, you've got Spike on the softs, Jack on the soft. You have to imagine he's currently being the rear gunner for the championship leader at the moment, because you'd have to hazard a guess that Fate Benfica, he would be able to go a lot quicker. It looks as if Spike is holding up the Williams driver at the moment. He just doesn't seem to have it in the straight, so when he goes behind the Mercedes down this main pit straight, let's see if he gets close enough, because he's been in the DRS for quite a few laps now. All this is going to be playing in the favour of Jack as well. The longer he can stay out, the better the race will be. And see, Fate just doesn't get close enough there again, Kieran.
And he gets himself a 3-second time penalty as well. And turn 1 seems to be a sticking point. But Benfica might have a good run here on the run up towards turn 3. He's going to have a look up the inside. Can he stick it up towards turn 4? And you can see there, he did have the inside line, but he just kept understeering and backed out of the move. He'll have DRS now as we head through turn 5, on the run now, down towards, through turn 6, now around the outside of turn 7. And you can see there, the Mercedes is just understeering there. And I'm sure he doesn't mean to run into the back of the Williams, but he tries down the inside. The experienced Spike there, trying a little bit of a dive bomb move there on Benfica. Didn't quite work. And Benfica then up to second place in what looks like his first ever race here in TTL F1. So a good debut from him. Still a very, very long way to go.
Absolutely, Kieran. What a fantastic move it was around the outside. We just stuck the camera on the outside, left the optimum line for Spike in the inside.
Crazy in trouble. Sorry to cut you off there, but that was crazy in trouble on the exit of turn 8. Spun the car around and lost a chunk of front wing, but in that, Siege did make contact. Oh, he's crashed out completely now, Crazy. And he's out of the race now at the old Singapore Sling. So his day is now done. But what I was going to say was Siege did make contact with the stricken Ferrari because it didn't ghost. So keep an eye on Siege. I think he's got damage to the front. Yes, he has. The left-hand side of that front wing is damaged for Siege. So his day has just gone from bad to even worse.
Could be a race-saving overtake there by Benfica, Kieran. You have to look at the gap now. He's already pulled out 8 tenths over Spike. He's going to be eating into Jack's lead. It just depends how long the soft tyres can go, because we do know the soft runners are struggling for heat and temperature in those tyres at this phase of the race so far. Got a little touchdown Siege. It's unfortunate that he did decide to pit earlier, and that is a risk you take when you look to come back through the traffic. You can run into stray cars. It's just unfortunate that it did happen and it damaged the Red Bull.
Blaster is into the pit and gone go a set of soft tyres and a change of front wing as well. And Alan Kay was talking in the chat there, and he said the softs were dreadful, didn't get any heat into them in 4 laps of running them. So that just backs up our theory, as we've got more yellow flags out. That's Maze into the wall now. Where is that? That is, I'm trying to think.
Singapore Sling, just around the sling area. As Jack just hits the wall there. No damage though. He's dicing at the moment, trying to keep that car on the straight and narrow.
Absolutely, yeah. Maze there losing the back end at turn 19 and collecting the car again, so he's got to have another pit stop. And let's see what stops are there right now. Well, IT is leading the way on 2 stops, so Maze is going to draw level with him. So the top 4 are yet to stop in this Singapore Grand Prix. Lap number 9. And that is soon to be 10 once Jack crosses that line, as he makes his way now towards turn 20 through turn 21. And you can see there those soft tyres. Well, Jack seems to be making them work at the moment.
No, he certainly does, Kieran, and you have to imagine Jack at the moment in the cockpit. He will be trying on every corner, the effort he'll have to be going through, because he'll be feeling his way through the corners, not putting too much on the accelerator, just feeding the wheel. You can see in his technique in the wheel at the moment, just feeding it through the corners. Every corner is going to be a bit of a test, especially with the conditions. One thing that we have noticed, Kieran, is that the rain has not gone off at all. It's still raining. It's not getting any heavier, but the more rain that falls, the slippier the track will eventually become. As he's coming up on a couple of stragglers at the moment, he'll be hoping the likes of Light and Mays don't hassle him. They do get out of the way. They could be battling for a position, but the race leader will be coming through very imminently.
Well, Spike here has managed to catch up on the back of the Williams once again. He's back in DRS range. And now coming through turn 6 on the run up towards turn 7. Spike looking now to put some pressure on the Williams car of Benfica as he now makes his way through turn 9. As you can see there, it's a wider entry for Spike. And if you're taught anything in your karting days on slick tyres, use the outside of the track. That's where you're going to find the grip. And Spike seems to just be trying to do that right now.
They're not getting out of the way of the leader at the moment, Keelan, as Mays does eventually pull over, but Light, he stayed there as he makes hard work for Jack there. Just to brake a little later coming at the corner. I don't think he's lost too much time to Benfica. It was a little bit awkward. It could have been made a little bit easier for the race leader to come through there.
I don't think, well, Jack, in the long run, I don't think we'll be too unhappy with that one because, of course, Benfica and Spike are currently locked in a battle right now, so that's just going to cost them a little bit of time. Able to, well, Jack will be able to extend that lead even further now. Benfica 9 laps on those ultra soft tyres, which is good running so far. And I wonder what his approach is going to be towards the end of the race. Is he going to have to run the soft tyres towards the end, or will he try a 2-stop?
Hey, possibly switch to the 1-stop, because I think with the conditions as well, there's no temperature in the track. You probably will find that the softs will go a lot further into the race. As Benfica going out sideways before they come on to the main straight there. That Spike gets close enough, and then seems to be he's treating the back of that Williams like a donkey because it could be kicking out any which way. So I imagine that Ultrasofts could be coming up to the window. Because of the guess that Clark Williams here on the pit garage asking Benfica, what are the tyres like? Do you want to change them? Because the gap has gone up from 8 seconds to 12 seconds, so the window is definitely more towards the softeners at the moment, and Spike in the Mercedes will be very keen to get his position back.
You can see here on the entry into turn 8 here, now on the run towards turn 9 as he heads towards the old Singapore sling. Lap 11 with 21 laps to go. Jack leads the way from Benfica, who's in second, but Spike in third. All three of those yet to stop. It's Ollie in fourth, Sean fifth, with Siege in sixth. Remember, he's carrying that front wing damage. He had to stop again to get rid of it. So Blaster then in 7th, Graham in 8th, UC 9th. Leite is really struggling out there. He's in 10th place, as is Mays. They're just having torrid times for the moment. He's currently in 11th place, having pitted recently to repair that front wing. And this is the thing about Singapore, when it gets into conditions like this, at the moment, you just have to try and make it to the end. The Spike gets very, very close. The styrofoam at turn 14 managed to somehow turn in, but so much understeer. If you leave your braking a centimetre too late, you're locking up.
Absolutely, he just went in very deep in that corner. He's obviously eyes firmly fixed on the car in front. So much action though, Kieran. We're only a third into the race so far, and we've got so much still to go, so many stories still to be told. As we did speculate, the Ultrasofts could be time to come in, as Benfica does pit. It'd be interesting to see what tyres he goes on. Hypersofts would be pointing towards a 2-stop, but I imagine he's going to go on the softs till the end now. And this could bring Ollie back into contention, because he's only 15 seconds behind the Mercedes runner.
And go a set of soft tyres for Benfica, so he's planning to run to the end. 20 laps on soft tyres around here is entirely possible. So as he makes his way towards the pit lane exit. Meanwhile, the battle for the last point is developing. Leite and Mays, they've both stopped twice so far in this race. They're both really struggling, and it would really make their day if they could just get at least 1 point out of this race. That's what they're battling for right now. And of course, remember in TTL F1 rules that you have to finish the race in order to get your points, as Siege manages to get the fastest lap of the race, 1:48.4. Now remember, that's not only the track may be drying up, but remember that's newer tyres and lower fuel, so don't get coaxed into it just yet. The track is still nowhere near to proper racing conditions. You're looking at the high 130s before that happens.
Just a quick word on the Williams stop there, Kieran. It was a fantastic stop. He obviously looked for the window to get his driver out in clean air. He's only dropped 2 places into 4th. It appears to be the top 4 running away with at the moment, but it was a nice stop to get the driver back out in clean air.
Siege here, chasing down the heart of Sean. Sean, who's been in great form recently, and I know has been singing his praises. He defends now towards the old Singapore sling of turn 10, and now coming up through turn 11. And then heading now over the Anderson Bridge, now through turn 12, on the run now down towards turn 13. As we look at Mays and Lighty as well, as Lighty pits in once again. He's just having a torrid time, and actually he decides this time around that he's going to retire altogether. So now what's important now is that now we're down to 10 runners. If you finish this race, you're scoring points. It's now the case of actually finishing this race now.
No, absolutely, Kieran. If anything, you just want to finish the race, tick the box, make sure you've got a point, because at the moment, if you do finish, you do have that point, and points all go towards the championship. Come the end of the season, it's all about accumulating as many as possible. But this could be hurting Siege at the moment, Kieran. He's stuck behind Sean, and it'll be vitally important for him to get out to in front of Sean to try and keep his race alive, because he was in the top 4, remember, the opening phase of the race. Now could be his opportunity. DRS wide open, ERS level 5. He's not activated his DRS, which is quite surprising, so I missed it. Could be a bit of an issue with the Red Bull there, as he looks to swing it round the outside, goes for the undercut, tries to come back underneath Sean. He'll just be looking for a nice run into this corner. Sean takes the inside line, so speed through the corner is going to be with Siege, as he does get the better run out. DRS wide open, ERS level 4. He's going to be going through now. He's got the racing line. Well, it doesn't appear to be using the DRS. Is that just me there, Kieran, or is he just not using it?
I think there's a problem with Siege's DRS. I don't think it's opening at all. He might have some issues, and that is definitely not what he wants. Meanwhile then, further up the field then, Ollie has found a way past Spike. And Spike, of course, who is yet to stop in this race, has been passed by Ollie. So that was a move that was really on the cards from day one. Meanwhile then, Sean defending hard in towards the Singapore sling. But there you can see the Red Bull going round the outside in towards turn 11. Has he got the grip? Yes, he has. And Siege used his patience there and his skill to get past, and Sean there defended as hard as he possibly couldn't quite keep the ultra soft tyres of Siege behind him. Siege then up to 5th place.
No, absolutely good quality racing that we've come familiar with in this race so far. Fantastic move by Siege. He keeps his race alive as he wants to try and get a podium. Now Ollie, choosing to pit earlier, seems to have been paying dividends at the moment. We do know that he was originally on the hypersoft tyres at the start, so it'll be interesting to see if he can make the tyres go another 17 laps, which he needs to do, unless he's going to be doing a 2-stop strategy.
Ooh, that's Graham into the wall, and that is suspension damage for the Sauber. He is now out of this race, and our own Ted Kravitz, Alan Kay, in the chat there saying that Graham actually hit the wall in Sector 2, lost his front wing, and couldn't stop the car in time at turn 14. So Graham is now out of the Singapore Grand Prix. We're down to 9 runners in these very, very treacherous conditions, and guess what? We're not even halfway through.
Not even halfway through, not even a time for a break. It's been a fantastic race so far. As we'll eagerly be anticipating now, though, when will Jack decide to pit? He's been on the soft tyres for almost half of the race now. And he's got a substantial gap to Ollie. You have to imagine that with the pit window, I believe it is about 25 to 27 seconds, so it'll be fascinating to see if he does decide to pit anytime soon.
Yeah, that pit lane is a very treacherous one, especially in these conditions. The entry to it as well promotes a lot of understeer, so maybe you're looking around about 27, 29 seconds would be a proper pit window, especially in these conditions, maybe even looking at 30 seconds. So it is a long pit lane, but it feels like it goes on forever. Not as bad as Silverstone, obviously.
Oh, well, that's one of the worst, especially getting out here. You're looking at drivers going past you and coming down the pit lane. You're like, oh, let me out. Not the issue as much at Singapore when it does actually throw you back out on the racing line, which is sometimes appreciated as you get a better run out the corner.
Well, we've got Spike here, harrowing onto Sean, and at the moment looking for a way past. Obviously pitted in from those soft tyres, now onto the ultra softs. Whether he can make those last at the end or not, I'm not entirely sure, but he's going to give it a good go with that is 16 laps to go. And And look at this, he's got a lot more grip than Sean through the corners. And coming around the final two corners now, right on the back of Sean, you can see there, he's got a bit more grip, he's got the DRS on the run now, down towards turn 1, and the Mercedes has the inside line as we head towards turn 1 now, and Sean, I don't think, made it too difficult for the Mercedes driver, and so Spike then is now up to 5th place.
No, very, very wise and very clever driving there from Sean. He obviously knows that the Mercedes is the faster car at the moment. He's obviously been freshly in the pit, he's got the fresher tyres, he doesn't need to race him, he's got 6th place under wraps at the moment. He's got 20 seconds to plaster behind him, so very well done by Sean. Rather than fight for the place, just maintain your position. As we see Spike run wide, come out the corner there, he's going to be pushing. He's got 7 seconds to make up on TTG Siege. He is on the fresher tyres, same compound, but a lot fresher.
Absolutely, he makes his way now.
3.5 seconds, not 7 seconds. I do apologise.
That's Siege's gap to Benfica. No. It's alright, Tej.
Yeah, I the wrong one.
That's how I know he's there as early on, yeah?
Yeah, a rookie. I'll line him out.
Rookie, you know what, Tej? I still make rookie errors, and I've been doing it for how many months now? Doing it for a year and a half. I'll still make those mistakes, so don't worry too much about it.
No, not at all. I mean, look at Murray Walker starting his stopwatch. Stopping his start watch. I just made another error. Yeah.
There's the procession behind there. You have a look at it. You can't see it. Is this what the rest of the stream is going to be? Just Murrayisms. Go on then, chat. What's your favourite Murrayism? There you go. That'll get the chat going.
To me. Oh, the chat. Oh, yeah, the chat.
No, we'll ask the chat. What's your favourite Murrayism of all time? There are a great number out there. I remember touring cars actually. I don't remember who it was. I don't remember what race it was, but it cut onto an onboard camera, and the driver stuck his middle finger up towards the driver in front, and he's saying, "I'm number 1." That's what he's saying. Sure, Murray. That's exactly what he was saying.
Yeah. Well, one of mine was when he commentated for Australia. He commentated for the Australian Grand Prix. It was Australian television, and Barrichello on the team radio said a defamatory word, and Murray Walker transitioned what he said into "It's handling like a pig," he says. It was on the team radio. It was something else. It was Murray Walker showing what a professional he was, turning a scenario like that into something which was easily accessible for the viewers with families as such. But no, he's an absolutely fantastic commentator. One of, if not the best, the actual voice of Formula 1.
Absolutely. Here's Jack then starting lap number 17 of the Singapore Grand Prix. So we are over halfway through and the rain is still falling. Alan was saying in the chat then expect the rain to stop around about lap 20. So we're only about 4 more laps away from this rain subsiding. But obviously the weather forecasts can be wrong.
It certainly can, and looking at the times, the timing screen at the moment, like you might have noticed, is that we're transitioning to a race, 2 separate races almost. You've got Jack and Ollie. Ollie's only 25 seconds behind Jack, and Jack still has to pit. It depends if Ollie can make the softs go for another 14 laps. It's going to be hard to do because Jack will obviously be able to go on the softer compound, but then you also have a separate battle between Benfica, Siege and Spike. They're both 50 to 55 seconds behind the Jack and Ollie at the moment, so we're almost getting 2 different battles transition during this race. It just shows how fine margins it is between race tactics and getting the right call and getting the bad call. So it's going to be a fascinating last 14 laps of the race. We're obviously waiting for the moment where Jack decides to pit, because you have to imagine that the other drivers at the moment on the tyres that they're on, that'll be them till the end of the race. As Spike goes past Siege, I do apologise, Kieran, we did miss that.
We did miss that, but Spike has made his move now, but Siege, of course, doesn't have the DRS. He's got that problem. He can't open it. So that momentum he could have had down towards turn 6 is completely gone now, and he'll be utterly frustrated about that one. He'll be on the radio saying, "Why can't I use it?"
Yeah, you can see Christian Horner's knees going. Adrian Newey hand in his head. Hand in his head.
There you go.
Yeah, what is going on?
Well, speaking of Murrayisms,
yeah, there we are. There's one.
Alan says his favourite Murrayism is me, as in Kieran, me. Thanks, Alan.
Well, it is original.
Well, it's original, sure, but I don't think I'd like to be called a Murrayism. Spike tapping the wall then as we head in towards turn 3T. Shows you how hard he's pushing. No, we're not making Kieranisms. Chat, don't make Kieranisms. We're not going back there. I've said plenty.
Hashtag Kieranisms in the chat.
We're not. Don't make it a hashtag. For goodness sake, whatever you do, don't make it a hashtag. I actually, speaking of like drinks I've had in the commentary box, have you tried this strawberry Coke? Hashtag ad. Hashtag spawn.
That's just so wrong. I made myself perfectly clear on Twitter my opinions of that. It's so wrong. There's only one type of Coke.
Oh, well. Spike here is now right on the tail of Benfica now. As we're talking about drinks in the commentary box. Spike is out there looking for a move past Benfica as he makes his way now down towards turn 4. You see on those ultra soft tyres, Benfica has been on these soft tyres for only 6 laps. He's planning to go to the end on them, so Spike really has to make this move. He's going to go round the outside through turn 5. He's got the inside line then for turn number 6. When is his breaking point? Will he overdo it? He's got the inside line and the Williams there. Just has to run wide and Spike gets his elbows out and gets the move done. He's now up to 3rd place. He's 28.1 seconds behind Ollie. But Ollie, I'm thinking, would have to stop again. I don't think he could make those tyres last into the race.
But potentially he does have to stop again, Kieran, so it's going to be an interesting story come the end of the race. And also, you'd be looking, if that was the case, you might as well pit now, because you might as well get 12 laps out of the ultra softs. Give yourself a fighting chance while you've still got a gap, which is equivalent of a pit stop. Another touching subject there is that Benfica versus Spike, a role reversal from earlier in the race where we saw Benfica on the ultra softs, Spike on the softs. Benfica went straight through the same corner, Spike straight through, no hesitations. It wasn't really worth Benfica's battle to come back at him, knowing full well that Spike was on the softer tyre. He just needs to hope now that Spike's tyre selection does decide to go come lap 30, lap 31 when the compound could be dying off, because we do know the softs, even though they're not gripping, they're not getting any purchase due to the tyre temperatures, the race could still come back to Benfica.
Absolutely, especially if it starts to dry up as well. But Siege is now right on the tail of Benfica. Again, he's still got no DRS whatsoever. But he's going to have a go anyway, down towards turn 1. He's got that overspeed. And, well, he can't quite turn in because Benfica was just there. And he's going to find this really, really frustrating. Has to do it the old-fashioned way with no DRS, with just the slipstream. And it's going to hark back to some days probably before 2011, actually. So, first time... Oh, there you go. DRS has been fixed for Siege now. He's got it back online. And this time he's going to find it much easier. On the run now, down towards turn 6. He's still on the outside, though, as the Williams has the inside line. But there you can see Siege finally has the grip as we head now down towards turn 8. And on the run towards turn 9, Siege finally has that DRS back online. As the Williams makes a little bit of contact there on the entry into turn 9. But there, Siege... move done. He's got the DRS back, and how he would have loved that a couple of laps ago.
No, absolutely. He can set about trying to catch Spike now, knowing that he's got his DRS fixed. It's sorted now. He can make here for the last 11 laps, trying to push as hard as he can all these ultra soft tyres and trying to get that space back on the podium. Quick shout out for Jacko, an exhibition of fantastic racing it has been from the championship leader so far. 19 laps on the soft tyres. We know just how difficult the tyres are to be used so far, and to have a 25-second gap after 19 laps on the same tyre, as Alan Kay touched on earlier with how difficult they are, it certainly has been a fantastic drive by the championship leader, showing why he is the championship leader.
Absolutely. We'll have to wait and see if he can get this across the line. Well, it is lap 20. This was an Alan Kay forecasted that the rain would stop falling. Hasn't yet. Still bits of rain out onto the track, but as you can see, the rain is not settling as badly as we first thought. And of course, drivers have started on the slick tyres. That means they have to have to use 2 compounds out of the 3 during this race. The tyre they start on and the tyre then of their choice. And of course, because we've got actually
yellow flag sector 2.
And who is that?
Who's that?
It's Maze. Maze once again in the wall, and that is at turn 8.
I
And
think this could be the lap that Jack pits Kieran. I just got a funny feeling it could be this lap or the next lap. There's no point staying out for too long with the gap comes under 25 seconds. You ideally would have liked to have come in with still the pit window of 2 advantage. So let's see now, because it seems to be sliding about a lot more like it was in the qualifying session. So I wonder if the tyres are getting there as he nearly kisses the wall, and he does pit. So I was correct there, the way the tyres were looking. So our race leader pits on lap 20 of 31.
I should go and buy a lottery ticket there.
Yeah.
Well, predicted that one. I'll go some ultra
For
soft
the-
tyres
for the Euro
the
Millions.
Mercedes driver, and away he goes then, leaving the pit lane. So where is Ollie then? He's making his way around 21, on the run up now towards 22 and 23, and running a little bit deep there into 22. Easy to understand how, as Jack now makes his way down the pit lane, and now he crosses the limiter line. Ollie then goes into turn 1, and he will take the lead of the Singapore Grand Prix. But we've got Alan in the chat then. He's saying Ollie pitted on lap 5. He pitted on lap 7 in TTFL last Friday at the Singapore Grand Prix. And at the finish, they could have done another 2 laps without a puncture. But the last half a lap he did, the tyres had no grip whatsoever. So he met the cliff, basically. So what he's trying to say is that he fears for Ollie about him getting to the end of the race, spike into the pits. And looks like here he's going to put on a set of ultra softs, is he? I wonder. I'll wait.
Yeah,
He goes again.
That's probably the more clever thing to do at this phase of the race, Kieran, knowing that the drivers you're racing against, Benfica and C's, they're going to be struggling for track position later on in the race with the tyres, so you might as well get a fresh set now and go after him as Sean comes through, goes past Spike, and we also have Mays pitting. But the gap has already come down between Ollie and Jack to 7 tenths. It was 2.2 at the first sector. As we're going to see now, Jack is going to be all over the back of Ollie. I wonder if Ollie's going to put up much of a defence, because he might as well take the 18 points for P2 if he's not going to be leading the race, because you'd have to imagine with 10 laps to go, Jack will be coming through ahead of those heavily worn soft tyres.
Absolutely, and this is a chance for Jack here to extend that championship lead to over 100 points. If he wins today and Ollie finishes second, that gap will go up to 106 points, the gap between the two of them. And Russia obviously will have 7 races to go, and the win gap between them will be 4. And well, we'll have to wait and see though. Anything can happen in Formula 1, and it usually does, as Jack here gets a little bit more grip out of 22 on the run up now towards turn 1. He's got the inside line, he's got DRS. Ollie's trying to put up a fight here as Jack there gets the inside line, but he cuts the corner, gets himself a 3-second time penalty, and that'll be added to the end of his race. And Tej will have to have a look at these lap times at the end, or at least the race director, and see how many 3-second time penalties have been awarded. There's Fate with another 3 seconds added to his time. And there is Yusuf there, getting well out of the way of the 2 front runners. Lap 22 then, Jack has taken the lead off of the man from Jersey, with Siege in 3rd, Benfica 4th, with Sean in 5th. Spike there has rejoined in 6th place with Plaster 7th, UC in 8th, Mays as the last of the runners, he's in 9th place. We've lost in this race Graham, Lighty, Crazy, Alan Kay and Pursuit, who have all retired from the Singapore Grand Prix, and understandably so. In these tricky conditions, even I would probably have crashed out. Fun fact, TTFL here at Singapore, the first race I did, first league race I did, I crashed out of qualifying and had to start from the back of the grid and clawed my way all the way back up to the podium spots. I was actually battling with Mays back then, and we had a really good battle for 3rd place, although it was a bit controversial. But there we go. There is Spike then making his way around Sean then. I don't think Sean put up too much of a battle. But yeah, I had a good battle with Mays. He had a time penalty. He managed to stay ahead of me. He basically won out that one. I just couldn't find a way past him. But he had that time penalty, which meant I got that podium placing, I believe. Yes, it was. That was my first podium in TTFL. One of 6, I think it was. Then I decided, I'm not quick enough. Anyway, here is Spike in 5th place. He's got 11.1 to find now on Benfica. And on those ultra soft tyres in these tricky conditions, he should find that relatively good gap to try and find, as the rain has actually started to ease off very slightly, only very slightly though. So on lap 23 at the moment, and you can see just around the third sector that rain seems to be a little bit heavier than most.
Jersey Royals for T, Kieran. That's if Ollie finishes P2 tonight. You have to speculate with 8 laps to go. It might be worth his chance of securing second by putting on a fresh set of Ultrasofts. The gap he does have at the moment is 35 seconds. Why risk it getting a puncher? So that's what I'm going to guess. You know, he's only 6 seconds behind Jack, but you have to imagine that with Jack stretching his legs and running away on the fresh set of Ultrasofts, it might be better to speculate to accumulate, if I said that right way around, to try and secure P2 without the use of running the risk of getting a puncher. So that could be something to look out for in the next few laps, as it doesn't appear to be too many battles on track at the moment. You've got Siege, who's now 6 seconds ahead of Benfica. You've never got 7 seconds to Spike in the second Mercedes, who has pitted twice, so that could be an interesting come later in the race. Will Spike be able to gain those 7 seconds over Benfica on the 11 lap old softs? Sean, who's having a very solid, if not spectacular race, in 6th, running very well. You've got Plaster in the lead Ferrari running 7th. You have Uzi, the sole Toro Rosso, in the moment in 8th, and you have Mays, the non-qualifier, running strongly in 9th place.
There is Sean in 6th place, looking to keep up that good form, and well, he has had some good races. He's obviously had 2 podiums so far this season, so he's had a good run in that Haas there. Definitely the Haas top point scorer as it stands, and well, with White joining him from the Williams, that's a little bit harsh to say that White's been outscored by Sean, since Sean has been at Haas for the entire season and White's only been there for, this would have been his 3rd race with them. So it's a little bit harsh to say that, but he's definitely been bringing home those points for Haas, and I can guarantee you they're very happy to have him at their setup. And there is Jack then on the exit of turn 13, as he looks to make those Ultrasofts last to the end of the race on lap number 24, soon to be 25, and at that point we will have 7 laps to go, so 7.5 if you're picky, laps to go here at the Singapore Grand Prix.
Yeah, it's definitely kicking on, Kieran. The gap 10.6 over Ollie. And we see the gap Ollie had over Siege is now dropped down to 31 seconds from 35, as Ollie gets another 3-second time penalty. I'm just wondering now, the longer this goes on, would it be worth Ollie pitting onto the Ultrasofts? I don't expect even the Hypersofts now in this phase of the race. So definitely try and secure P2, because he could come under threat if he was to get a unsuspected puncher, as TTG Jack kicks on again with the fastest lap of the race, a 141.8.
Yeah, sorry, I have to say that the rain has stopped completely, so expect those lap times to come tumbling down into those 139s and then 138s and then possibly 137s. So those lap times are really, really going to tumble down now. This is where the advantage for the Ultrasoft tyres will come into full effect. As we see there, Spike has got his way past Benfica, and you can see now Spike's car has come alive on those Ultrasoft tyres. This is where those new and fresh Ultrasoft tyres come into play, as Siege now dives into the pit lane, and he's going to get rid of these Ultrasoft tyres. And this must be the time for Ollie, for him to come in and say, look, you've got a good lead here. Your teammates come in. Spike is behind you, and he's very, very quick, 38 seconds behind, but that's only going to go down as yellow flags in sector 2, as not quite sure who that is. That might fit. Oh, it's Plaster in the wall. He's lost his entire front wing. As you can see, there is a dry line, but you just saw as Plaster was pulling away just before turn 13, there was a little bit of spray coming up from the tyres. So it just seems like there's only one dry line at the minute. If you're off that line, you will struggle, as Plaster's definitely trying to get out of the way of, I believe that was, I can't tell who that was. But,
I believe it was Ollie in the back of him. Ollie in the back of Plaster, and he's knocked his wing off, so... I think his left end plate's come off, so he will have to pit. You have to imagine he does have the gap to 35 seconds. Unfortunately there, Plaster not being aware of his surroundings with one of the lead drivers behind him, and he could have compromised Ollie somewhat. Compromised or saved his race either or. We'll find out come the end, as Spike at the moment just begins. Sector 3 some way off, so I have to imagine Ollie is still going to be able to come out in P2 as the Ferrari trundles into the pit lane behind him. Mattia Binotto shaking his head at his driver. What are you doing? In Italian.
Absolutely. Well, Ollie now making his way down the pit lane. And where is Spike out on track? He's now coming towards 22 and 23. So it's going to be a fight down towards turn 1 here as Spike is there ready to emerge down towards turn 1. You can see the Red Bull has rejoined in front, but he's got to get those tyres warmed up now that have just been fresh from the blankets, and then you've got to warm them up when you get down to the track. So Spike here might have a little bit of a pace advantage at the moment, but he's got to make that stick. And as you say, Tej, that front wing incident, will that have hindered or saved Ollie's race here? Because it looked like he might have been on for a puncture towards the end. You never know. You never know.
The Lord acts in mysterious ways. As Spike, we're hoping now that with this race, getting a bit of a damp squib at the moment. Okay, you're not sure you might agree or disagree. It would be good to see another battle for the last few laps. Let's just give us something to hope to, give us something to cling on to, and looks as though that's not going to happen because Ollie looks like he's actually, now his tyres up to temperature, he's pulled the gap out from 1 second to 1.8 seconds as they go over the Anderson Bridge. Down the boulevard straight now. The gap now up to 3 seconds, or 2.2 seconds, so Ollie stretching his legs, trying to secure P2 as the back of the Mercedes almost kicks out on him there. So Spike not giving up the ghost yet, he's pushing like a pig. Oh, he's lost a bit of his end plate there, touched the wall, so the Mercedes driver definitely is pushing. Caution to the wind, he knows that the Williams is 7 seconds behind him.
That will have been frustrating for him as well. And yeah, he's definitely coming into the pits now. So, well, he's got Benfica behind him. And this looks like it's going to be on for the A logo fastest lap. Is this going to be a Hypersoft stop? We've already seen one from UC and Plaster. And it is Hypersofts for Spike then. He's going for the fastest lap. Of course, you don't score any points for that yet. But let's see then, Spike making his way out of the pit lane and towards the end now. Siege will take that position away now. He currently grabs the A logo fastest lap of the race award. 1:38.847 at the moment from him as he takes 4th place. It has been one of those. It's been one of those races. It's topsy-turvy. You haven't really been able to predict what's going to happen. Rain at the start, with everybody starting on slick tyres. That rain didn't really go away until a couple of laps ago. Now you're seeing drivers set fastest lap after fastest lap. And Spike here rejoins on a set of Hypersoft tyres. Of course, he's only got to run them for 4 laps. And there's Jack there, 1:38.399. Takes back the A logo fastest lap. Are we going to see a 1:37 towards the end of this race?
Quite possibly, Kieran, but I'm fascinated to know why Spike actually pitted there, because he was in 3rd place. The gap to Benfica was 7 seconds. Is it due to penalty accumulations? You'll never know, because the gap now is some 24 seconds behind Benfica, and I don't think he can pull in 24 seconds over the next 4 laps. So, interesting decision by Toto Wolff on the Mercedes pit wall to bring his number 2 driver in. You'd be hoping that Mercedes were on for a double podium there in 1st and 3rd place, but we'll move on because Fate Benfica could be on for a debut podium if I've got that one correct, Kieran.
Absolutely, and Ollie smashes into the 1:36. It's on the 1:36.2.
What's the Ferrari doing here, though? The Ferrari's trying to unlap himself against the Williams. There's no need to be battling the driver in 3rd place. Cautious times for Fate Benfica. You don't want to get too close to that Ferrari.
Well, Blaster definitely wants to try and get past. He seems like he's the faster driver, and there's the Williams. Probably playing the smartest card in the book and just letting Plaster go. He realises there's no need to battle here. There's no need to try and keep him behind. If he's faster, but a lap down, just let him go. That's a lesson Max Verstappen could have learned.
Yep.
We won't go too much into that, but there you go.
No, I'm sure Benfica will be wanting to push Plaster onto the weighbridge there and say, what are you doing? You're driving like a madman. No, we move on now. With 2 laps to go, obviously Plaster wanting to put a show on for whatever Tifosi are left in the stands. I'm sure they'll be a bit disappointed to see the drivers in 8th place, but we all know Singapore is a tough race to come and get 4 points. And at the moment, it's exactly what TTG Jack is doing in 1st place.
Absolutely. not only is it the toughest race on the calendar, we've also had that period of rain on the slick tyres. The concentration levels were through the roof. I'm glad we were sat up in the commentary box for the entire time, Tej.
Absolutely, hot chocolate and donuts. Absolutely lovely.
It's a bit
in
warm
these
for
cool
hot
conditions.
chocolate, but,
It's like Blackpool here.
Sean as well, 6th place at the moment, 5.3 seconds behind Spike, although that gap's only going to get bigger as Mays is retired. Mays retiring from the session. And,
he was on for 2 points.
He was, and that ends a really torrid day for not only himself but for the Renault team as well, and they'll be packing up early now. So Mays then does not finish here in Singapore. We're now down to 8 drivers.
Yeah, Cyril Abiteboul shaking his head in dismay there as his driver retires the second Renault of the session. Mays not hanging around, leaves the session. We're probably thinking 29 laps for nothing as Sean decides to pit again. He's obviously got a decent gap over Uzi in 7th place. So Sean looks like he's going through the air logo fastest lap of the race.
That's just what I was going to say, Tej. This looks like a really good strategy here. He's got that gap. It's over a minute. Why not? Why not have a go?
Yeah, why not?
He's just been lapped by Jack then, so he's timed that to perfection. So lap 31 is going to be his one and only chance to get that A-Logo fastest lap of the race award.
As TTG Plaster gets another 3-second time penalty. And Jack there just coming out with turn 5. He bangs the wall. Maybe a little bit more cautious at this phase. You know, you got one more lap to go after this, and you've got a gap of 45 seconds. Just bring the car home. Don't take any unnecessary risks. Bring the car home, because if you were to lose it now, it would be nothing but heartbreak.
Well, this could be, as it stands, the points gap going above 100 points, or 106 to be exact, as we head towards the Russian Grand Prix. As Jack then makes his way down towards turn 13 on the penultimate lap, and now making his way up towards turn 14. And well, for Jack here, he seems to have had the pace, whether the track was slippery or whether it's bone dry like it seems to be right now. He's just been on the pace all day long, and it'll be interesting to see what the run time has been for this race and what the finishing time will be, because of course in those slippery conditions. And Spike then 5-second time penalty for speeding in the pit lane. He's back in the pits and on for another set of hyper soft tyres. So he really wants that fastest lap of the race.
He really does.
Well, actually, he might have mistimed this, because here comes his teammate around the final corner. If Spike is lapped, this lap won't count then. Jack on his final lap of the race, and yes, he has been lapped. So Spike then's come into the pits for no reason whatsoever, because he's not going to get a clean lap in.
An oversight there to bring the driver in when we still had to go. But unless you wanted to finish the race a lap earlier.
Yeah, there is Sean then, who picks up a 3-second time penalty. This is going to be his hot lap. You can tell he's pushing as hard as he can. He wants that A-Logo fastest lap of the race award. But there is Jack now making his way up towards turn 8. Coming through turn 9, and well, we finally get a dry hot lap on board with Jack then, as he makes his way up towards turn 10. And the old Singapore Sling has actually claimed a couple of cars today, Crazy Legs being one of them, and that was saving grace there down towards now turn 13 across the Anderson Bridge, and now watching that traction for the final time out of turn 13 on the run up now towards turn 14. And let's have a look. Let's see how he takes this. Yeah, pretty much under control now. And so he now makes his way through the slight kink of 15 down towards turn 16. Coming around turn 17 now into this 90-degree section. A little kick at the back as he makes his way now through 18, then through 19. And now towards another set of 90-degree corners, 20 and 21. Jack here looks like he's going to extend this lead to 106 points as we head towards Sochi. Jack wins the Singapore Grand Prix, and what a fantastic drive it was. Brilliant stuff from the Mercedes driver, and it only ever extends his lead at the top of the table. Ollie then, who's 40 seconds behind. Spike then will come across the line to take 6th place after his penalty. Sean then does not get the fastest lap of the race. He gave it a good go though, finishes 5th, a lap down. So only 4 drivers here will finish on the lead lap. Ollie, the man from Jersey, will be one of them, as he makes his way now through 20 and 21 as the fireworks are starting and the party's already begun for Jack. Ollie now makes his way around the final couple of turns, and he's run out of fuel, has he? No, he's going to stop and do a burnout across the line. Why not? As he comes across the line, then 2nd place from the man from Jersey. But some of the headlines here today, Williams with really no permanent drivers. And Benfica here looks like he's going to take the last step on that podium in what will be a fantastic first race at Williams for him. He comes around the final corner. Is he able to hold on to it though with all those penalties? He'll cross the line in 3rd, but Siege takes it away. Siege then grabs the final spot on the podium. Benfica drops to 4th. And there you are then, the winner of the Singapore Grand Prix. Another win on the board, 106-point gap. Jack takes yet another win in this season.
Well, a very professional and dominant win, Kieran. Start on the soft tyres, make them last as long as he did. To keep the grip, to keep the performance. And where some of the other drivers decided to go 2-stop. Alternative strategies. Jack, the championship leader, proving why he is the championship leader and making the strategy work for the best and finishing a dominant 40 seconds ahead of the rest of the field.
Absolutely, as the rain starts to fall again after those podium celebrations. Your official, unofficial results then. Jack with a finishing time of 56.5 minutes. What a behemoth of a race. Ollie then finishing in 2nd, Siege rounding off the podium with Benfica finishing outside of the podiums then. Sean in 5th, Spike 6th with UC 7th, and Plaster, the last of the finishers, in 8th place. Not finishing this race, Mays, Graham, Lighty, Crazy, Alan Kay and Pursuit. So the Russian Grand Prix then is the next one on our calendar. A much shorter Grand Prix then in terms of time. Almost 57 minutes we spent up here in the race, in the commentary box. I can't imagine what it was like for the drivers, and I hope, Tej, this was a baptism of fire for you.
Oh, I wouldn't have spent it with anyone else, Kieran. This is what I was planning on doing. 57 minutes, me and you having an absolute barney in the commentary box.
Well, I'm glad you enjoyed it, and give it up for Tej, who is going to be my new co-commentator on a Tuesday night, and you'll be able to catch him next time around, which I believe is at Japan. Correct me if I'm wrong.
Yeah, all that talk of Sochi, you got it wrong. See, another Kieranism, another one.
What do you mean?
I don't know where we're going.
The next Tuesday is the Japanese Grand Prix. The next race is Thursday. Yeah, you can join Andy for that one as they head to Russia.
I like to do the rest. Ignore me. We'll talk about these. We'll talk about these Kieranisms post-race, Kieran.
All right, settle down. Anyway, unfortunately, I won't be here on Thursday, but yes, Andy will keep you in very good hands for the Russian Grand Prix. You can see whether Ollie has a response to that dominant drive from Jack then. And, well, Tej, we have Commentator's Corner coming up. Are you going to stick around for it?
Is it questions with the drivers?
It is indeed. Well, if anybody turns up. If not, we can have a little bit of a chat.
Yeah, I don't see why not. We'll have a little chill wag. We'll have a little Tej and Kieran's race debrief. Yeah, I don't see why not. It's I've got a few comments to make. You know, at the start of the race, it looked like we were set for an entertaining race, especially between the Red Bulls and the Mercedes. It was just unfortunate that with the contrasting strategies, people picking different tyres, that the race, after about the halfway stage, it was already opened up, and you had Jack was very well in control. You had the rest of the grid were all quite spaced out, so it didn't exactly die off to be a damp squid, but it was a bit, you know, you pretty much knew Jack had it in the bag come lap 16, 17. So much promise at the start of the race, but also taking that into account, the rest of the drivers on the grid, they'll have to come back fighting because Jack has got the bull by the horns and he's running away with it. So looking forward to the next round in Japan, and hopefully the rest of the drivers can take the challenge to the championship leader.
Absolutely, and hopefully you'll be able to join us for Commentator's Corner. Make sure you do subscribe to the channel down below. Make sure you hit the notification bell so you're notified every time we go live. And, well, you'll get notified when Commentator's Corner goes live. It will be live in just a couple of minutes. Don't leave the channel.